Shavua Tov, Good Vach. We're still living under the influence of Hanukkah, so I want to share a real Hanukkah story that took place somewhere in the late 80s in a far-off country known as California. There was a very happy man, happily married, 3 children, a wonderful life, which all tragically changed one night when he was involved in a car accident while driving his children. 2 of his 3 children were killed in the accident, leaving a broken man, a broken marriage, a broken life. Basically, this led to he was blamed for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. His wife chose to divorce him. He fell into obviously a super depression. And his life fell apart. The only thing that kept him going, barely, was his occasional opportunities to spend time with his one remaining daughter. And after maybe a year or 2 of this depression and this great sadness in his life, he decided enough of this misery, he's going to put an end to his life. But his daughter's birthday was coming up. He decided he's going to give her the most amazing birthday imaginable, take her to her favorite restaurant, go to see a movie together, drop her off at her mom's, and then, with her on a high, he'll end his life. Turned out, somewhere late in December, somewhere like 86, 87, he picks up his daughter, it's her birthday, and they go out to a restaurant, and then they're off to the movies. This is going to be their last time together, unknown to the girl. When they arrived at the cinema to go to the movie, they realized it was a very quiet, abandoned mall. And as they're getting out of their car, they hear music. Dun, 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 dun. And he recognized this is Jewish music. And he turns around and he sees there's a menorah being put up, and there's a young crowd gathered around it, and there's a musician playing something, and there's the smell of latkes and Chanukah and dreidels, and everything's going on. And his daughter said, "Come, Daddy, let's go see that." So they went over to the menorah, and before they knew it, they were singing, they were dancing, they were clapping, they were eating latkes, they were eating donuts, they were getting Chanukah. He had never seen his daughter's face so alive and so happy. At one point she says, "Daddy, this is the best day of my life." So after the dancing, after some pictures, they went to the movie. By the time they entered the movie, the father had decided he is not going to end his life. How could he do this to his girl? Tomorrow morning she'll wake up and discover her father killed himself. So he decides he's going to get out of this, and he's going to turn his life around and change things. He ended up moving to a different section, a different part in California, and he was put in touch with Rabbi Brisky of Chabad, somewhere I think in the valley, I don't really know California. And this Rabbi Brisky happens to be a very well-known lecturer, and this guy began to attend lectures. He wasn't a member of the Chabad house, he wasn't a real member of the community, but he would attend Rabbi Brisky's lectures. And one night, the topic of the lecture was bad things happening to good people. As you may or may not know, sometimes bad things seem to happen to good people. It's a very provocative question. It's a question that's troubled any normal person for thousands and thousands of years. And in the course of the lecture, he spoke about how Jewish perspective on bad, etc., etc. This man at the lecture, thinking of his own misery, his own background, even though he was in a much better place now, began to cry, and tears were just coming down his face. The rabbi, hopefully unsurprisingly, noticed how emotional this man was becoming. So after the lecture was over, Risky said, come to my office, let's talk. And that's when this guy revealed his life, the loss of his 2 children, the loss of his marriage, his wife, and how close he had been to suicide, and why this lecture had touched him so profoundly. The rabbi became quiet, which is unusual, and emotional, not so unusual. And the rabbi said, "Hold on a second. What year did that story take place with the Hanukkah?" And he said, 87. The rabbi went over to his bookshelf, and he pulled out an album, Hanukkah 1987. He opens it up, and he goes through some pictures, and he shows it to this man. And there's a picture of this guy with a young girl and the rabbi dancing and celebrating at the Menorah. It was at his menorah that the father and the daughter had run into Hanukkah. Rabbi Brisky said, let me tell you the rest of the story about this Hanukkah menorah. We had decided that we have to expand our public menorahs, and we were looking for a place to do it. So I called up the phone, randomly asked directory. For those of you who don't know, once upon a time there was a 411. You called for information and said, where's the largest mall in the next city? And they gave me a name and a number. We showed up, and to our horror and to really my profound disappointment, we discovered the mall was all closed down. It was in the process of going bankrupt, of closing down. The only thing open was a movie theater. We said to ourselves, we hired a musician, we bought food, we got a whole arrangement here, and there's no one going to be here in an empty, decrepit mall. So we even bothered doing it. And we decided we're here, let's do it. We set up the menorah, and really in my heart, I was so upset that I had spent money, energy, resources for a really purposeless menorah lighting. But we did it, and we danced. And I'll tell you, he said, the rabbi says to this man, it's been on my mind for a long time whether that was a menorah lighting that had any purpose behind it at all. And now, to look back and look in the pictures and discover you and your daughter, for you to tell me your story, boy, was that a worthwhile menorah lighting. May Hashem help that we should light up our own lives and the lives of those around us. Have a great week.